friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Workshop. By my calendar, today is February 7th, and we'll get this video posted hopefully yet today or tomorrow. But I gotta make the video first, put it all together, that is. And the reason I tell you the date is just to let you know that as of today, we just hit 3,700 subscribers, which is wonderful. In the video you're about to see, I think I refer to the fact that we just hit 3,500 subscribers, and that was only 6 days ago. So that's a pretty good increase in just 6 days, 200 more subscribers. I'm just putting this little front end on the video here just to read a couple of notes from some customers, and I'm also going to show you a couple of pictures from a couple of customers. And then we'll get into the main video, which is working on a Silvertone guitar. This note says, "Hi Jerry, just want to say thank you for the useful tips you've posted on YouTube over the years. I've just repaired one of my homemade guitars, which I thought was beyond repair, using the technique of wetting the crack and then getting glue into it using capillary action." And he says, "Brilliant." He says, "Thanks again, Pete from the UK. I've been getting a real increase in the UK viewers, and thank you very much for that. I really enjoy hearing from the guys over there across the big pond." And this next comment was from Michael Fishman, and you might recall Michael was the one when I was working on his mandolin. He was just sitting there watching me, and he's the one that just in the last video I repaired the Kalamazoo guitar, and I also worked on his J45 bridge replacement. And he says, "Hey Jerry, wanted to let you know how pleased I am with your work. The Kalamazoo plays like butter, and the J45 has a stronger voice now with the fixed bridge. I am very happy." Well, next we've got a couple of viewer pictures that I've received, and I'll put a little text box below those telling you what's going on in those pictures. And then we'll get right into the Silvertone guitar repair. Hope you enjoy it. Today is February 1st, 2017, and just wanted to let you know that as of today, we've just gone past 3,500 subscribers, which is just awesome. And it is growing by leaps and bounds, and I am so proud of that. Thank you very much for joining up and sticking with us here. Those of you that have been with me for a long time, thank you for sticking with me. We got a project today that is... you know, it's in two different worlds. It's hard to explain this one. It's a Silvertone. I believe these were Sears guitars. And this one's in almost what I'd call perfect, pristine condition, almost. And why I fall a little bit short is that it's been kept in the original case. And here's the case. It's a, you know, one of these little floppy cases. And the case is almost perfectly pristine also. I mean, it's like there's no tears or rips or anything. It's got a little number. It's got a little emblem inside. It says Naughide 64, Naughgyde 64 in the case. And the case is both good and bad. It has protected the guitar, but it has also caused a little minor problem. If you look close, and it would be probably hard to see this, I doubt you're going to see it in the video very well. There's a little buff, you know, you can see little rough areas here, and you can see a line kind of going across here. Those little lines and stuff, if you look real close, you can actually see the fabric that's inside the case kind of imprinted into the finish. And in quite a few places. It's not real bad. It's not everywhere, but it is in quite a few places. Like there's one right across here, a big one. But anyway, so the case is both good and bad. I mean, it's protected the instrument, but it's also kind of distorted the finish a little bit. You know, when we talk about this guitar, and I don't want to offend the customer that might be watching this. I hope you don't take offense if you're watching. on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of a player's guitar, this would be pretty far down the scale. This is not what we would refer to as a player's guitar in the modern day anyway. Now, in the day it was built, it was well, even then it was probably still kind of an entry-level guitar that you could get in on and get in fairly cheap, but it was sturdily built and would stand like a young person dragging it around, that type of thing. It's kind of heavy for as small as it is. It's kind of a small size guitar. I would call it like a 3/4 size, just in terms of the body size and thickness and shape and everything. So to me, it's kind of a beginner level or an entry level type guitar. It's obvious from the note the customer left that this is a highly favored guitar of his. In other words, it's probably a sentimental thing, and which I got no problem with that. Trust me, I've mentioned before that I'm kind of a sentimentalist. I totally believe in doing what it takes to keep those kind of instruments going, whether they're worth it or not. So, but in my opinion, this one's not worth spending tons of money on either. Because it's just, the value's just not going to be there, I don't think. The customer's concerned about a couple of things in his note. Basically, it says there's cracked out wood on the side of the neck under the nut. Look at the holes in the headstock, he says, and the D-string tuner seems hard to turn. Please just look it over and do what's necessary to get it playable again. Okay, well, let's bring the camera down and we'll look at some of those things. The first thing I notice, and it's pretty common with almost all of these kinds of guitars, is the neck angle is almost always bad. And this neck angle, when you go with a straight edge straight down the neck, you can see it doesn't go above the bridge. It bumps into the bridge. And this, by the way, has a rounded corner, so it doesn't even show it as well. It will bump up above it because of the rounded corner, but it literally stops right at the bridge. And I would say, just looking across here at the angle, I would say it's roughly a 1/16 of an inch below the bridge. Maybe not quite that much, but it's below it. Okay, so right off the bat, almost for sure, this thing would probably need a neck reset if you wanted it to be perfect and perfectly playable. If it were mine, would I do a neck reset on it? I got to be honest, and I would say no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't spend the money or the time on it. I haven't talked to the customer if that's going to be an issue. And I haven't strung it up yet because it came without strings on it, so I don't even know how bad it's going to be once we string it up. But it obviously is going to be high. So that's the first problem that I see. The saddle is reasonably tall. It's not high or anything, but I mean, there's enough there that we could take off maybe a 1/16 of an inch off of the saddle if we needed to, and that would help the neck angle. In terms of the customer's concerns, he said holes in the peg head. Well, I don't see anything that I would call holes. I do see this little dent right here, and I do see another little dent right there, and I assume that's what he's talking about. But I've looked all over it, and I don't see any holes, so that must be what he's talking about regarding holes. I don't know. If it were mine, would I fill those? I don't know. It's this old paint and stuff. It's so hard to match. It's not like a car body. You can't. I can fill them maybe with some super glue or something like that because lacquer would take 14 years to get enough lacquer in there to fill that hole. But we can maybe fill it with some super glue drops or something like that and make it look a little more level. But will it look real good? Boy, that's open for debate in my opinion. I think it would probably look just about as well to leave it like it is, but everybody's different, and everybody wants something different. Regarding the wood broke out under the nut, I don't see it as wood broke out. I really don't. When I look at this nut here, you can see that the wood itself is a little bit scarred right there. But what I see is that the saddle is chipped. I don't know if that's going to show up real well or not, but the saddle's chipped. Is more than most of it. We could dye the wood there and make that look okay. But now I'll pull the saddle out of here, and if you can, I don't know if this thing will focus on this white thing or not, but that saddle is chipped pretty bad. So that's where most of the hole is coming from. Maybe you can see it better from the end. You can see how badly it should be flat across there, and it's chipped up pretty high. So most of what he's seeing there is the saddle, in my opinion. Although there is a little bit of a corner knockoff there on the peg head overlay there, just a tiny bit of a corner knockoff there too that we can dye, and I think maybe even if we have to, we could fill it and dye it. So we can fix that part of the stuff up there. I'm mostly concerned about the neck angle is my biggest concern with this guitar. But enough talk, let's just get into it and see how it goes. So first thing I'm gonna do is make a new nut. We'll make it out of bone, or deer antler actually. Well, I made pretty much an exact duplicate of this plastic nut out of deer antler. And I mean, it really measures in every direction almost perfect. I mean, within a thousandth, so it's really close. And it does fit exactly right in there. Couple of quick updates about this. I have two strings on here tentatively. They're just sitting on there just to kind of gauge the neck angle and the relief and all that. But it's really high. 180 thousandths is what I'm measuring right here at the 12th fret on the big E string. Now granted, there's two things that we haven't taken into account yet. We could lower this a little bit, and we can lower this a little bit up here too, because it's just sitting on top of the nut at the moment, and it's pretty darn high right here at the first. So that both of those things will help this, but it's still going to be high when we're done. And but I thought I would show you too how the nut fits up there where that crack used to be. There's really no crack there now. It's pretty much flat. Just a little dye touch up will make that look real good. I think I'll go ahead and cut the slots in this nut and adjust the action here a little bit and see just, you know, how much we can affect this 180 thousandths. You know, if we could get this down to 140 or 50 thousandths for this type of guitar, if it were mine, I'd for sure live with that. And I'd probably live with it the way it is, to be honest with you, just because of the kind of guitar it is. You know, it's not going to be one of those heavy hitter type guitars anyway. And you know, like I said, I'm not knocking it. I'm just trying to do the practical thing. You know, there's no point spending hundreds of money on an instrument that's not going to be worth hundreds of dollars when you're done, you know. So we'll see what we can do here practically to bring it up and make it a little bit better. This is just a side observation. You know, we're talking about the condition of this guitar as being almost pristine. You know, in my opinion, and I think I'm pretty close on this. I bet this guitar hasn't been played more than a full day in its whole entire life. In other words, if you added up 24 hours and put it on this guitar, I think you'd be more than it's ever been played. It barely has any mark at all in the frets, and when I say mark, I mean just you can see it's been buffed in the area where the strings were, if you will. So in other words, the strings have made contact at some point, but they haven't done anything. There's no dents or anything. The fretboard itself is absolutely factory fresh. Now it's kind of a cheap finish on the fretboard. As I say that, I take it back just a little bit. I kind of feel maybe just a teeny amount of first finger wear here, but boy, I mean, it's minor. Maybe, and that might not even be what that is. But it hasn't been played much. Boy, I'd say, you know, almost none. It's really been sitting around for many years. It's kind of neat to see one in this condition. I've cut the nut slot for the large E string, and that has improved it, you know, quite a bit here. We're down to about 140 thousandths right here, which is probably better than I expected we would get it. That would mean just to get it down to 100 thousandths here, we'd have to take off 80 thousandths back here, and you know, because it's 40 thousandths higher than 100, so you double that, and you'd have to take off 80 thousandths back here. Well, I've measured the height of this, and you know, it's about 92 thousandths. So we have like 12 thousandths sticking up here. Well, there's no way we're going to be able to get it down that low. But, you know, we can improve this. So we'll take it down some and just see how much we can improve it. You know, I'm going to knock this down, and I could do it with a file. It's a little tedious with a file because you stand a risk of scratching all this stuff as you're trying to file this down, and I hate to scratch it up because it's in very nice shape. So I'm going to just use a Dremel tool and just go across here with a sander. I think that's going to work fine. I can get it in a rough area, and then if I need to do some touch-up filing, I'll do that. Well, that knocked it down. I'm going to say I took about half of what was there off. That's about all I feel comfortable doing, you know, in terms of making it play good. I don't think it makes sense to take more than that off of there. I think that's about as good as we can do. Just going on pure raw experience, nothing more than that. Don't have any way to really measure it and decide, well, it needs more or less. The only thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this file and kind of draw file it across here to smooth it off and make it flat. There's an outside chance that it'll be so low now that the strings may buzz going across the top of it. I may have to cut some slots down into the saddle holes, into the string holes. And that, you know, if I have to, that's what we'll do, but we won't know that till we string it up. Working on the tuning keys here, I've been putting some 3-in-1 oil on these gears. A lot of people think you can't oil these gears, it's going to make them slip. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not the case at all. You can oil your tuning keys, they will not slip. The worm gear driving this way and this thing driving this way keeps them from slipping automatically because the string is trying to spin this and it's spinning it against this. Well, that's not going anywhere. That's not going to rotate because of the fact that this is spinning against it. So you can oil your tuning keys and you won't have any problem. The reason I'm showing you this up close is, do you see anything wrong there? Because there is something wrong. Look at it closely. See if you can identify what's wrong. All right, I've given you a little time there. If you want to pause and keep looking at that, feel free. I'm going to tell you what the problem is, though. The problem is right there. Can you see the difference in that gear to this gear to this gear and all the other gears? This has come off at some point in time, and someone not paying attention or didn't know what they were doing at all or whatever, put it on upside down. So we're going to take this one apart and turn it back over. And see, if you look at this close, the hole's not perfectly round, it's oblong, and that's meant to slide down on this oblong post here, and so we will get that back on there and get it matched up. Now, if you ever have to take these apart, what you'll have to do is wiggle it around a little bit because it won't line up exactly right the first time. So you'll have to do some jostling in order to get it to go through there. Unfortunately, I already have the strings on this thing tentatively, so that's even making it a little more complicated. There it is, it lined up. And but you will have to do some wiggling and twisting and turning there to get that to line up and get the gears to mesh and all that. But we got her there. We got her meshing now. Oh my goodness! Oh no, that's not fair. This screw head just, I've never seen that before. I didn't even tighten it very tight. You could see I didn't hardly put any pressure. And the screw head split on it. You can't win sometimes for losing. That's just terrible. What a shame. See if I can get it back out of here. I've never seen that before. I've been doing this 34 years. That's crazy. Well, come out of there. Can you see what happened to the screw head there? It's not supposed to look like that. I'll go to my scrap pile and see if I can find one of these. Well, it just so happened that out of this old tuner right here, I had one left that matched, and it looks like it's the same color, size, shape, obviously the same threads. So we'll snug her down there, and that should do it. Well, I don't think you can even tell that's been replaced because it looks identical. Thank goodness for scrap parts. Well, I once again have kind of an elaborate setup for doing something pretty simple. I've got this guitar propped up so that I can get this peg head really flat. I even checked it with a level. It's almost perfectly level right there. And the reason that's important is I'm going to try to fill this little hole that's right in here. And I've already put a plastic dam down through the peg head and against this tuning key so that you know, the glue won't stick to that. So there's a little piece of plastic in there. And I'm going to use super glue and try to fill it with super glue because there's really almost nothing else that's going to fill this thing. And I mean, lacquer would never do it. It would take forever. So I'm going to give it a shot and see where we go. I'm going to put some super glue on this little plastic lid. Use a toothpick. I know they make all kinds of special super glue adapter things for doing this kind of thing, but I just use what's handy and what's practical. So I've got a toothpick here, and we're going to just put a drop right down in here like that. And the reason I wanted it level is because we know liquids find their own level, you know, and so this might help to get it level here. I'm just using the toothpick to try to move it into the areas of that dip. That looks like that's as full as it can be. Actually, it looks slightly over full. Wished it was a little less than that. I'm going to see if I can take a little bit out with the toothpick. Wiping the toothpick off each time I dip it in there to try to remove some. It's looking better. It's almost flat now, so I'm going to let that go and just let it sit just like that and dry. I would leave the camera on and let you watch that dry, but I doubt you'd find that interesting. Well, friends, I interrupt this video to do a little sales job here. You see this little mandolin? 6-8 years ago, I believe I was told this was a StewMac kit that someone had started. They messed up the neck on it, and I kind of engineered a fix for the neck, you know, and I put it together that far. That's as much as I did. They didn't want it at all. It was in the trunk of their car. They came to me and they said, "Hey, I got something you got to see." You know, okay, fine. So I went and looked, you know, and this is what it was. Well, he kept wanting to sell it to me, and I kept saying, I really don't want it. I don't need a project. I'm up to my ears in projects, so I didn't need a project, you know. So this thing's really just been sitting in the shop for a month, well, for years and years. And like I said, right when I first got it, I think I engineered this right here just so it would be together, and that's all I did on it. I won't 100% guarantee that this won't break, but I kind of think it's fine. I really do. I wouldn't tell you, I wouldn't even try to sell it if otherwise. But this is going to be for sale. It would be a good first project for somebody if you've really never built one before. I just want to make sure I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. Yeah, the top is plywood. I didn't know that. I honestly thought it was real spruce. But it is a laminated mandolin. That doesn't take away from the fact that it could still be a decent project kit, and it could still have a decent sound. For a first-time, you know, mandolin builder or something like that, this would be a good way to get started. as you see it is how it comes. You know, I'll give you a close-up of the neck here. You can see I just kind of put this piece in there. I don't even remember how I attached it, whether it was with dowel pins or what. But it's attached and it's glued. And so you can see, like, you would have to do some dark staining in here to kind of cover that up. Wouldn't be that big a deal. Well, actually, I do see a dowel pin right here, and I don't know if I did that or he did that. I don't remember, but it's honestly, I just don't remember. If somebody can make use of it, I will sell it for what I think I paid for it. I either paid 30 or 40 bucks for it. I literally bought it just kind of to get out of the conversation because the guy would not quit. You know, he just was insistent. So anyway, I gave 30 or 40 bucks for it. I'll just say I gave 30. If you want to give me 30 plus shipping, it's yours. That's just how simple it is. The first guy that says, I want that, will get it. So send me an email. Don't put it in a text message, or don't put it in the comments. Send me an email if you want it. And you can get my email address off my website if you can't remember it. It's rosastringworks@gmail.com. And so anyway, there it is. It's a F hole. It's got the F holes, but it's an A style mandolin. Like I said, as far as I know, it's sound. I don't think there's any problems with it. I did not build the kit, you understand. All I did, I know I did something to fix this neck right here. That's all I remember. You would have to get your own fretboard, all your own hardware, everything. But if you're interested, there's no point in it sitting around my shop anymore. It would be a great first project for somebody. And you won't have much in it, 30 bucks plus whatever the shipping is. And I'm going to say the shipping is going to be roughly 30 bucks too. But so you'd have maybe 60 bucks in it, which is pretty cheap for, you know, a first kit. Of course, you'd have, you know, quite a bit more time. You deck it out with all the hardware and everything. I wasn't going to film this part, but I thought I might as well go ahead and do that. I've already filled these with super glue, and it took a lot of filling, and we got them level. Then after I got them, you know, filled, of course, it was sticking up proud. Then I took my magnifying glasses and a very sharp, brand new X-Acto blade, which it's not focusing. But anyway, a round tip, and then I could just get in there very carefully scrape the top right off of the glue and got it down level with the surface. Then this is the first time that I've used a product recommended by Randy Schardiger. I thought I'd just give it a try. This is a semi-chrome polish that Randy always talks about. I bought some of it thinking, well, you know, it might come in handy sometime. And what I did was I just opened the tube up like so, took a little toothpick and just dabbed a little tiny dab because I don't need much for something like this. And then I just put it on here like so. And then I thought, well, what could I possibly polish that with? It's so tiny. And I thought, you know, a soft pencil eraser like this would be perfect. So that's what I've been doing. And I've been using the end of the pencil eraser as my polisher. And I can control it pretty good. Getting pretty good results. It's not perfect. You know, that super glue is hard to polish, first of all. It's hard. First of all, it's a hard material. It doesn't buff out real easy, or at least that's been my experience with it. Maybe somebody else has got a better way of doing it. But I thought I'd try this polish the very first time. I really haven't used it before at all. Brand new tube. This hole was a little smaller. This hole was really big. And it's looking better. It's not perfect yet, but I'll work on it some more, and maybe we'll get it where you can barely tell it. Well, I have to admit the results have been mixed. So I thought I'll take some 600 sandpaper and just glue it to the end of this little tiny dowel here. Cut the dowel on a slight angle, and I'm going to try to get in here and sand it a little bit better because it's just not smooth enough. Even though I scraped it as carefully as I could, I thought I had it pretty smooth. But after you start polishing it, you notice that it's not as smooth as you thought. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Yeah, you can see it. If you get down and look for it, you can see it. But just from, literally I'm 10 inches away from it, and it's like I don't really notice it at all. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of this Renaissance wax, and I'm going to just use the same technique. I'm going to put it right on a pencil eraser. It seems to be working pretty darn good. I like the pencil eraser idea on this. It gives you very fine control. And before you comment and say, well, why didn't you do this with your tuning keys off? Well, I didn't think of it. That would be the first honest answer. Would it have been a lot easier? It would have been a tiny bit easier, but it really isn't that hard to do it this way. So I don't think I'd have gained much if I'd had the tuning keys off of here, because I'm just working on this one little spot, and I can get to the spot no problem. Like I said, it's not perfect. You gotta use some common sense on this kind of thing and say, how far do you gotta go with something like this? And I think we've gone just about where we need to be. It looks pretty darn good, really. You don't see any big gaping holes there anymore. And maybe I can turn it around. You can still see it. It's about as good as we're gonna get it for the amount of time and money that we need to spend on something like this. Otherwise, you just waste too much time and money for the customer. The last little detailing we're working on was there was the chip out underneath this side, and you can see there's definitely no chip out there now, and I just colored it dark brown to match, and so it does look nice there now. I'm also just touching up little places, and maybe you can see this. Like, see, there's a little white light colored area right there. I'm just taking the brush with the dark brown dye and just so lightly touching those places, and that so that they don't show up. Looks pretty darn good. I think we're gonna call this baby done. Well, sometimes you just make mistakes, and I'm gonna be big enough to just admit I made a mistake. It's sort of. I mean, it's not exactly what you call a mistake. I didn't screw something up, but I should have looked at this much sooner than I did. I've been monkeying around up here at the peg head and working on that, and had the strings on it. I've got it tuned, I guess you'd call it a half a step low. I would rather just say I've got it tuned one note low. In other words, instead of E, it's a E flat, and all the strings are like that. They're one note lower than they should be. And I've been monkeying with the action up here and all that, and I monkeyed with the action here, but I didn't look behind the bridge. It's pulling up. It came in with the strings off of it. I didn't even bother thinking about that. I don't know. Really dumb. I just feel like an idiot for not looking at that first. But yeah, the bridge is pulling up. So back to square one here. We got to fix the bridge before we do anything else. Okay, regarding this bridge pulling off, I guess I should have figured there was a problem, because I do see a scar here in the front where this bridge is pulled forward before. You can see where there's some scarring right here. So somewhere along the line this bridge has been worked on, and that's pretty amazing to me, because the guitar hardly looks like it's been played at all, ever. It just looks almost like unplayed guitar. You can see these two little dots. That usually indicates there's a screw there. Well, I have gone inside, looked up in there, and there are holes there, but I don't see anything in the holes. I've took the mirror, gone up in there, and I literally can see the hole, but there doesn't look to be anything down through the hole. So I don't think there's any screws there. Maybe they've just put little dowel pins here. I don't have a clue why these are here right at the moment. So I'm going to see what I can do about popping this off of here. This thing looked to be so loose that I didn't even bother trying to put any heat on it. I just put a little tape around here, just took a dry deal like this, stuck it in there, took this in here, stuck it in here, and just kind of twisted them a little bit, and it just popped right up. And you can see it came off with almost no damage at all. Tiny little bit right here, but very little. The finish, bridge was glued to the finish, and that's probably the main reason it failed. This bridge is sort of distorted, And with these extra holes in here that don't match, I'm really tempted to just make a new bridge. I think I can make one much stronger. I think if I make one just a little bit bigger, I could make one a little bit, maybe even a little bit thinner and get the action down just a little bit more. I'm just deciding whether it makes sense to do that or just repair this one. I think maybe I'll take this to the sander, sand it flat on the bottom here and see what it looks like before I make my decision. Well, I made my decision. This is a piece of junk. It's got some kind of, I don't know, fiberglass. I don't know what the heck this junk is that's on here. It's just a mess. And it's really cupped. Maybe you can see how it's riding on the middle of the sander and the edges are not touching. By the time I get this sanded down flat, it's going to be too thin to work with anyway. It's just cupped from years of being twisted or whatever. By the way, in case you ever try to hold something like this on your flat belt sander and it's going to take off, it's hard to hold because it's slick on top. What I did was I just made myself a little tapered dowel, stuck it down in the hole here like this, and then that gives me something to grip. I could grip it like this and hold it down on the belt sander and slide it like this so that I had something to grip to, and then I could just pull it off the belt sander with this too. You know, so anyway, that gives you something to hold on to. Just give you an extra technique there in case you need something down the road. But I really don't like this bridge at all. I just don't like it. Plus, I believe it's been cracked right down through here. I think I was noticing that on the front here, and I thought it looks kind of like a crack. I just don't think this thing is worth salvaging. I can make a much better bridge. I believe we can make this guitar a lot better too. I think I can lower the action down some more with a new bridge. I roughed out a piece of this rosewood. At least that's what I keep calling it. Like I said before in other videos, someone gave this big chunk of wood to me years and years ago and they called it rosewood. I'm not 100% sure that's what it is, but it's an exotic hardwood. It's very hard, it's very resonant. It's got a real nice click to it. Very good wood for a bridge. Anyway, I made the replacement blank much bigger this way and even a little bigger this way. Anyway, if you put them up here side by side, you can see it sticks out quite a bit more. It sticks out roughly almost 3/16 inch bigger. And it's a little longer too. I would say overall length, it's probably about the same, about 3/16 inch longer also. My idea is the back edge of this is fairly clean. I was thinking we'll line it up with the back edge and let this cover most of the scarring that's on the front edge here, where this all came off before and messed it up. And the bigger area will also keep it from doing this. It'll keep it from twisting so much, the bigger surface area. It'll flatten this top out real good. And the only two scars that'll be left then will be these other two scars, and I don't know where those came from. I guess when they took it off the first time. As a matter of fact, you can kind of even see right here that this one kind of continues into this dark thing, continues into that scar. And this scar here you can see is chipped out all the way across there. So this will cover up a lot of that. It'll just leave these two little marks here in the front, and maybe we can even touch those up a little bit. But anyway, I think that's my plan. It doesn't completely cover up this rest of the scar here in the front right across here, but it gets most of it. This bridge at the thickest place was 300 thousandths. I've made this down to 275. That's 25 thousandths thinner, but with the extra surface area, I think we're going to be at least as good. Plus, I think this is a harder wood, which I think will stand up better than this. And that way I can put a little bit lower saddle in this, lower the action just a little bit more. We're never going to get it down where it needs to be. Like I said, it technically needs a neck reset. It's just that I personally would not do a neck reset on this if it were mine. The customer asked me that, and I think he's going to take my recommendation. I really wouldn't put a neck reset into this. I don't think this guitar, is going to be that kind of a play-in guitar. So now we're going to contour the ends down like this. We'll bring you back as we make some progress. I have clamped the new bridge and the old one together. I've lined up the back edges because the back edge there I want to line up with the holes. I've got a transfer punch here, and it fits the hole precisely. And so now I will just tap it lightly to mark where the holes go. I don't know if you'll see those little dimples there. I think you can see them. And now we know where the holes go, and we'll be able to line those holes up then with the original holes, line this back edge up with the original back edge, and yet cover up a lot of the front. I've lined it up here so that you can see that the holes do precisely match up. I think you can see that. Now we just gotta get her cleaned off and glued down. I put the pegs in the holes just for a little extra support while I'm gonna cut the finish off of here. Got a very sharp brand new blade X-Acto knife here. I believe we've got it marked well, and that got rid of 99.9% of that scar across the front, which I'm proud to say. And then we just got the little tiny two little minor scars left, and we can fix those up a little bit better, I think. Now we gotta clean all the junk out in between here. I'm not gonna make you watch me do that because we've seen it many times. Got her all cleaned off. I'm going to take some acetone, wipe this off now, and we're ready to glue it on. Got her all glued up, clamped up, wiped up all the squeeze out. Looking really good. Think we're going to do a lot of good doing this, and I'm hoping we can even get the action down a little bit lower. Like I said, it was about 145,000, something like that. It'd be nice if we could get it down in the 120 range. I don't know if we can even get it that low or not. I was right about there in the middle of that trail where you can see the burn, kind of behind that tree right there, when I got a phone call from one of my customers, and we were talking about guitar necks and straightness and all kinds of things. And I just casually said, well, I got to get back to my firefighting. I think I freaked him out a little bit. It looks like it's out of control, but we've got it all burnt around the perimeter, so now we're letting it rip. It's been actually about 2 days since I put this on here. Got busy yesterday, just couldn't get back to it. And now we'll see if we can get the clamps off of here. Yeah, that looks good. And that's on there tight now. That's not coming off of there. Alright, we got a little glue squeeze out in the hole, so we'll take a drill, run it down through there, clean that out. Alright, I got myself the tiniest little piece of antler here, just a little sliver, and set it on top of the bridge, and I ran the strings over the top of it. This is not in a slot, it's just there. And I've checked the intonation and got it pretty darn close. So I've got it marked, and now we're going to cut the slot. Alright, we got her back together, put the new bridge on it with much lower saddle. I even made this bridge about 30 thousandths thinner than the old bridge so that I could drop it another, that would give you about another 15 thousandths up here in terms of dropping. So it's in pretty good shape. Here's 115 thousandths, you can see there, and under the large E, it fits it exactly tight. I mean, just absolutely snug. And then the 100 over here fits pretty close. It's actually a little more than 100. The 115, though, is a hair high. So it's, you know, from 150, the best I could do before with the new bridge and the saddle and everything, dropping it down. And if we absolutely had to, we could probably get it down a little bit more if we really had to. At least in my opinion, you know, that little bit of a high action beats a $500 neck reset. So, you know, I mean, it costs a lot of money to do a neck reset, and a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you're going to damage everything and make it look kind of ugly too. So, I mean, you can touch it up, but gee whiz, that's a lot of work. Well, you know me, I couldn't accept the fact that I had it at 120 thousandths. I thought I can still get more out of this yet. Okay, here's, you can see here I've got 115 thousandths on this side, 100 thousandths on this side. The 100 thousandths slides under there, and the string does not move at all. So it's exactly 100 thousandths here, which is really not horrible. It's a little bit on the high side, but even a player could play this. And on this side, it's 90 thousandths. And it's right on the money. So we got 100 down to 90. I am really, really satisfied with that for this guitar. That sure beats a whole neck reset. I think it turned out just about as good as it could. I just cut the bridge down a little bit more. That gave me that little bit more to be able to pull down everything, the saddle and everything. I buffed out the top as best I could. You can still see the scarring from that fabric case, but it's much better. And I think it's in really good shape. I'm much, much happier with it now. I feel more satisfied now that I got the action down to what's really not a bad action, especially considering this thing really does need a neck reset. So there you go. It's not bad action at all considering the circumstances. Might add that the intonation is very good on it too, so it's in really pretty darn good shape. My friends call me Two Gun, and I answer when they call. My friends call me Two Gun, and I answer when they call. I got one in my boot tops and one in my overall. There you have it, the Silvertone guitar. Much, much better shape than when it got here. I believe he'll be real happy with that. Thanks for watching.